The Great Famine, hunger's curse. It was not war that first broke the spirit of Christendom. It was not plague that hollowed its villages. It was hunger, slow, pitiless, unrelenting hunger. Between 1315 and 1317, the heavens closed their gates, and Europe fell into shadow. They call it the Great Famine, and its memory lingers like a curse. The rains began in the spring, soft at first, then ceaseless, pounding the earth into mud. Fields drowned beneath black water. Wheat rotted in the ground. Oats and barley withered before they could grow tall. The harvest failed. Carts that once overflowed with grain stood empty, wheels sinking into mire. The barns echoed hollow. The granaries held only dust. When the autumn came, the hunger began. At first it was only scarcity, smaller loaves, thinner soups. Families tightened belts and prayed for the next year's harvest. But the rains did not cease. Another year of ruin followed, and with it came despair. Bread vanished from the tables of peasants and lords alike. The poor were the first to suffer. They boiled grass into bitter stews. They ate bark, roots, and the flesh of dead horses left on the roadside. Mothers abandoned infants in ditches, unable to feed them. Beggars filled the streets of towns, their voices hoarse, eyes sunken, ribs sharp against sagging skin. Many fell where they stood, their corpses left to rot on the cobblestones. Grain that survived was hoarded and sold at impossible prices. A loaf of bread cost what once fed a family for a week. Men fought in the streets for a handful of flour. Thieves were hanged by the dozen, their starving bodies swaying as crows circled overhead. Cannibalism crept in, whispered at first, then spoken in terrified voices. In the forests, children went missing. Travelers vanished, their bones discovered charred on secret hearths. Chroniclers wrote of parents devouring their own sons, of husbands carving the flesh of wives, of hunger turning men into beasts. Whether every tale was true or not, the fear of it haunted every village. Disease followed close behind. Malnutrition weakened the body, and fever spread in damp hovels. Swollen bellies, gaunt faces, eyes glazed with death. Whole villages withered to silence, fields untended, doors swinging open to empty homes. The nobles fared little better. Armies could not march without food. Horses died in the stables. Castles grew cold as famine crept across the land. Even kings watched their granaries empty, their treasuries drained by the cost of grain. No amount of silver could conjure bread from barren soil. And through it all, the priests declared it was God's punishment. For sin, they said, the rains had come. For greed, for lust, for heresy. They called the starving to repent, to fast, as though they had anything left to give. Processions wound through the mud-choked streets, crosses held high, flagellants beating themselves bloody in hope that heaven might open once more. But the clouds only thickened, the rains only fell harder. In some towns, justice itself broke. Men accused neighbors of hoarding, of witchcraft, of summoning storms. Trials flared, stakes burned, and the starving cheered as others were condemned, hoping their deaths might appease the skies. 3 years it lasted. 3 years of endless rain, of hunger gnawing at the marrow of Christendom. 3 years when death walked not with sword or pestilence, but with empty bowls and hollow bellies. At last the skies cleared, the sun returned, the soil dried, and crops rose once more. But the damage was done. Millions had perished, some say 10% of all souls in Europe. Families were broken, villages abandoned, fields turned to wilderness. The survivors carried not only scars on their bodies but shadows in their hearts. The Great Famine left behind more than corpses. It left behind mistrust, despair, and the knowledge that hunger was stronger than faith, stronger than kings. It hollowed out Europe, and when the plague came a generation later, the people were already broken, already weakened, already haunted. They called it a curse, and perhaps it was. A curse of rain, of mud, of hunger that turned men into beasts. A curse that proved death does not always come swiftly with the sword. Sometimes it comes slowly, in silence, with an empty stomach and a world of endless rain.